daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Southampton, part of the Global Sports Podcast Network. My name is Greg Elliott, and as always today joined by my good friend and wonderful co-host, Zach Ingo Finch. And how are you doing, my friend? I mean, I always dread to ask.
Watching the game yesterday was a complete waste of my time. That's where I'm at. I had some family over the weekend. They knew I had to stop to try and catch up with what's going on. Hence, we do a daily podcast about it. And quite frankly, I wish I just skipped it. It's infuriating.
I've seen such a range of emotions about the game, and I'm sure that we're going to get into it at length in this episode, but I kind of feel like it wasn't as bad as everyone's making it out to be. I know that's going to upset you.
I can't with you, mate. Like, we lost 3-1 to Hull.
Yeah, but scored a goal.
Yeah, Armour scored a goal right at the end. Excellent. Happy days after we were 3-0 down. Brilliant. I can't. I need you to explain to me how it's a positive and how that's good and how Wilson is the man. So far, let's get
it clear. I don't think it's a positive, right? I am trying to hunt the positives.
Yeah, but okay, that's what I want you to do. I want you to find the positives, because the way our back and forth has been
14 shots, 4 shots on target. That is an improvement. I know that we were leaky at the back, but
they never go in, Greg.
But here's the thing: Hull had also only had 4 shots on target. Just so happens that 3 of them went in, and
why? Because we've got
2 of them were soft. 2 of them were really soft defensively.
75% of our defence is the same defence we had last year.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
It's 12-point season.
That is the problem, but. Unlike last season when we had a manager who was stuck in his ways and unwilling to change anything, we're still finding the formula, right? We are changing things. We've seen changes throughout, and sure, at this point, none of them have really been as effective as we like, but it's going to come. It's going to fall into place. It's we talked before about how once that window slams shut, that's basically the end of pre-season. So at this point, we're 2 games in, realistically.
3-1 to Hull. They concede. They barely score. We played against a striker that's never scored against us in 6 games.
That score is not a fair representation of the game, though.
But it is, because that was the score. That's the score.
No, but that's not.
That is the score. That is the reality. Yeah, football is played on grass, mate, not paper. Your words to me constantly.
No, I fully agree with that, but 3-1 does them more credit than the actual game.
Because we're that bad. That's how that works. That was the whole of last season. We made every team look great. We broke all of the records for every team. Any team was on a bad streak. Any striker was on a bad streak. I remember Wolves, with their striker they finally paid for, got a goal against us at Stan Larson. They were really worried that, what are we going to do when Kuna's gone? And then we play against them, and Stan Larson ends up scoring against us. And everyone's like, maybe he can be a good striker.
But that's the problem, mate. It's just scar tissue from last season. You forget that exactly. This is how it started at the start of our promotion campaign last championship season.
I don't think it was that bad.
Because having a championship having the transfer window shut this late into the championship means that we're only 2 games in. He's only had a week with his players. It's just so. I mean, I get it because we lost 3-1 and that sucks and it's not good, right? I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying, you can't just snap to the judgment of we're still rubbish. Look, it's just the same nonsense. It's literally 2 games and a week. I
understand, mate. I really do. But the problem is that people pay. This is supposed to be entertainment. People have gone up to Hull. We lost. We feel like we lost the South Coast Derby. Let's not pretend. It was a 0-0 draw, but for us it may as well have been a loss. okay, it's a point on the board. That's the only positive we can really take from that game. Everyone wanted to see a reaction. And then you've got a bunch of these new players that still can't manage to click. And then we're still playing the same players that are bad at the back. There's a combination of things. Like, I'm not a tactical genius, and I'm not, Christ, I'm barely tactically inept, mate. But like, my point is that you cannot expect to galvanize a fan base when this is our start to this campaign. And also, likewise, I hear your point. You cannot expect miracles overnight. Both stances are ridiculous. We can't have an absolute head loss, but at the same time, it was a 3-1 loss to Hull. Like,
right, look, let's take the emotion out of it, Zach, honestly, and tell me, what was our biggest criticism of the Portsmouth game? We didn't create enough chances, right? That was our biggest criticism, right? We kept a clean sheet because they didn't create anything either, but we didn't create enough chances. So we've gone to put that right, yeah, and we've changed a bit, and we had the team.
How much did we change? Because
we had 14 shots,
seeing a lot, yeah, but
that's 13 more shots than we had last week. Like we have tried to correct, and in doing so, you have to agree that sure, we let in 3 soft goals from arguably their 3 only chances in the game, right? Or not quite true. They had another chance afterwards that we were almost lucky not to concede from. But
what solid chances do you remember us having? Genuinely, other than obviously we scored a goal, but other than that, what were the chances you remember? Because you're going, 14 shots. What are the ones that actually look like they're ever going to go anywhere in the goal?
Damien Downs had an unbelievable piece of movement where he actually got past the ball off that movement and narrowly missed it at the far post.
That's the one part of the game that realistically I can remember. That's the truth of it, and that is how a lot of people are going to feel as time goes on. What do you remember that game? Yeah, Damien Downs missed a sitter. Oh, we also got battered by Hull. That was weird.
Right. I don't think it was a sitter, and I don't think it was that bad of a miss. I think, especially compared to some of the ones he's missed before, I think missing by that margin is acceptable for a striker. I get it, because it's a rubbish result. But I think the head loss is... everyone just needs to settle down. Like, literally, it's been a week since the end of the transfer window. You can't expect these players to gel overnight. Yes, defensively we were sloppy, but like you say, it's the same defence we had last season. We've got options this year. We're going to be tinkering with things. We've got Nathan Wood, who looked really good and somehow was dropped out of the first team despite looking really good. So I look forward to him coming back in.
Who's been doing really well and dropped out. Jay Robinson that didn't
Ronnie
really
Edwards.
appear. Like, this is the thing, is I understand that you're going to be tinkering with things and changing things, but we seem to, if we go 5 at the back, we can't score. And if we go 4 at the back, we might score, but we'll concede loads. I don't understand what formation can fix it. The problem is, Greg, is it's not a head loss because of just this game. It's not a head loss because of just these 6 games in isolation. It is a collectively over the space of the last year and a half. It's just been awful. And I know that
it's Will Steele's fault.
No, but that's what I mean.
Steele's fault, and yet he's coming under such heavy criticism. But he's still finding it out. He's literally had the players on the training ground for a week.
People want a miracle, mate, and that's the problem. You're right, but the thing is, at the same time, it's
also
kind of acceptable to lose the whole 3-1.
But then also, I say every week with full chest and fully believe it that this is the best league in the world. And the reason that it's the best league in the world, Zach, is that realistically anyone can beat anyone. So is it really that? I mean, look, everyone just needs to settle down. It's just some of the talk I've heard is just insane, is where I'm at. And I'm not trying to excuse the loss, right? But also we lose games of football sometimes. It's just, I know that things need to change, but I still think that they are going to, right? We've got so much other potential in the squad. It's going to come together at some point and we're just going to fly. That's fully my belief.
So in 3 months, if it hasn't, you're going to still toe the party line? Because I understand you need to be. You need to be.
Look,
I understand you want to be the face of optimism, but I don't know if I can do another season, mate, where we sit there and we go, well, maybe something will happen. We did it with Jurich, we did it with Rusk.
Look,
that draw was great. I think it's just people aren't seeing anything.
I agree.
That's the issue. No one's seeing anything. No one's seeing progression yet. I understand that
it's been a week. He's had a week with the players.
He's had 6 weeks.
3 days on the training ground with the team that he wanted. If that, Damien Downs didn't even get back from America
it's not just
like
that. There's
our
strikers. We've got the same strikers that we haven't replaced that can't hit a barn door, mate, and haven't been able to for the whole last season.
But they haven't had any service.
Right. So then we've got to put these new players in for
and have a break. I've got counterpoints to you, but let's
I want to hear them all, to be
clear. And have a message from our partners at Bioniq.
Your body is unique, and Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimize your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN 2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now. Your body.
All right, mate. Look, let's tackle it one point at a time. You raised before the break strikers. Okay, so there's 2 points to strikers, or maybe even 3. You say they can't hit a banjo with a barn door with a banjo, right? Fine. Adam Armstrong scored in this game, and arguably should have been brought into play earlier based off of how sprightly he looked against Portsmouth. Cameron Archer has scored this season a couple of times, and when he gets the ball in a way that plays to his strengths, looks very dangerous. Damien Downs is settling into the league and came close, and you've got to work off of law of averages here, right? Because you can't expect strikers to have a 100% hit rate. And right. Yes, I would still agree, right? There's still nothing to show from that near miss, but it shows that he's getting into positions and taking chances. And eventually, through law of averages, some of them are going to go in. But also, I don't think, especially in this game, that the strikers, and in fact, arguably Portsmouth as well, that the strikers have been the problem. The problem is the creative force that's supposed to be around them has just been non-existent. I mean, you know, we heard in the press conference before the game, we'll still say we can't play that type of ball to Cameron Archer. And instead, he puts on Damien Downs and plays a similar kind of ball. And, you know, a couple of times it comes off and gets close. But there didn't seem to be any... it's just not clicking yet between the sort of attacking midfield and the wingers. And I don't know what it is. I don't have the answers. I've not paid a championship manager's wage to try and solve it. But look, Azaz has been quiet both of these games, and I don't know if he needs to find his feet to be more involved or what. But I feel like at the moment, would be putting Ryan Fraser in that Azaz position because he is one of the more creative sparks that we've got, and be playing Jay Robinson out wide instead of Fraser because I don't see anything from Azaz yet.
Yeah, no, and to be clear, mate, I agree with all of those points, right? And I understand, but like when the problem that I have a lot is that you're like, oh, he's only had 3 days with these. Right, you've had most of these strikers, most of the strike force had a full pre-season with Will Still. They've had a full pre-season to get into a headspace. Right, they've only just started to play this specific way. Sure, but our top goal scorer is Ryan Manning with two direct free kicks.
But they've had all this time where we still haven't worked out how to pass them the ball properly. Like
but that's what people are annoyed about because it's 6 games.
But that's not their fault. That's the players that are supposed to be passing the ball to them's fault.
So then,
that's the fact of the matter is, we only remember that one near miss from Damien Downs because that was the one time he got the ball. But if you watch the game, he is making movement or similar movements like that to get into that space behind dozens of times throughout the game, and that's the only one time that the ball got passed forward to him. We're so slow in the build-up from the back and through the middle. And when we try and speed it up, we make mistakes and give the ball away softly. And then we revert to just knocking it backwards and sideways because we went too quick and gave it away. And then it's just so... I think the word I used to describe it in the text chat with you when we were watching the game was sluggish. It's just really, like, really painfully slow with very little, like,
boring, mate. And that also is a contributing factor to why I think that you're seeing people lose their head a little bit, myself included, because I'm bored. I look forward to this event once a week, right? And I watch it and I'm like, oh, this is awful.
But also not to, like, harp on like, the manager to be, like, the godsend. I don't know if Will Steele is the answer to all of our questions or if he's going to be a successful Saints manager. I hope so. But you can see on the touchline, if you watch him, that he gets frustrated at the same things. I don't know what it is then that he needs to do in training or otherwise to sort of properly get that message across and make them start actually playing football. But
droppable is where I'm at this point. just change the whole back line. Give it another go. So yeah, I think
right, that option this year, like last year, we were talking at this point about maybe Bella Kotchap's going to be the answer to all of our prayers, and look how that played out. But this year, like, I feel like we've got solid options. I'm surprised that we haven't seen more of Nathan Wood. I'm surprised we haven't seen more of Ronnie Edwards. That's not even to mention Quasi, who looked slightly Bambi-ish, but really was starting to settle in and, has potential to push on. So, like, it's going to be tough to find the right parts to fit into this puzzle. And is the formation right and good at the moment? No.
I just think you've got a lot of people that watch the games, mate, and I don't think that they have the same footballing acumen as you. Because I talked about it before, you have significantly higher footballing IQ and acumen than me. And again, part of the reason that I like sports across the board is like the entertainment value. And I think that you need to understand that as logically all your arguments make sense, that doesn't fly with like 50% of the people who are watching it. So the problem is you can't sit there and go, well, here's my 2-hour explanation. If you actually understand that they do move into the right channel, but then we've rossed through one to Hull. People have been on the train. They're half cut. They've gone up to Hull. They've watched us play rack. And then obviously that falls back on them.
Horrid weather as well.
Horrid weather. Like, Blackburn literally called off for their
Fair play to all of our travelling fans, it has to be said.
And then they get a lot of abuse on social media because it's like, wow, we got to stop booing the players. I'm like, you've driven, or you got on the train all the way up to Hull, and then you've watched us get spanked 3-1, where you get a consolation goal in the 95th minute. And the thing is like taking. And I think the problem you've got is like taking the emotion out of it. Yeah, the actual tactical battle, what's happening on the pitch, the transition, the change is really important and is going to take time. And like, he will get his day. I don't think that Sports Republic are going to go, well, unfortunately, Will Steele, like John from Shirley has really lost his head at you. And like Zach, who originally from Tottenham, is just so annoyed with how bad that loss felt that we're just going to have to fire you. I am under absolutely no impression, mate, that is what's going to happen. But like, the problem is the vibes and the feeling is going to be there until we start to see breakthroughs, and he would have known and been told this when he took this job, that people are going to expect rules soon. Like, we're going to expect results. And you said you love a manager that wants to do anything to try and win a game, and we've won one against Wrexham, and it was in the last minute, and it wasn't a substitute, it was Jack Stevens. Like,
look, I understand, and it's going to get even harder, right? Because, I mean, ignoring our midweek trip to Liverpool, where I assume we're going to see heavy rotation, we got a really tough game next week. I watched Middlesbrough against West Brom on Friday night, and well, I'm scared.
The most Saints thing to do now will be going beaten 2-0, and then everything that I've said is null and void. But
we're going absolutely batter Middlesbrough, who look like at the moment they're comfortably the best team in the league, and then we'll give Sheffield United their first win, mate. That's just how Saints work.
Yeah, and you're right. And sometimes, Greg, it's just hard. It's hard supporting that. And like I get it, and the problem is, like, you know, a lot of people, and where I will give Will Steele credit is that, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, he's got his signings that he wanted now. Judging by the fact that pretty much all of them came from the Bundesliga, I don't think a single one of the signings are his. The fact he said he didn't want another striker, it's probably the fact that they've not managed to get another striker in. Let's face it. I think they probably would have loved to, but you pointed out well and truly that to get a striker in that scores goals in any league, you require a significantly large amount of money. And they're not willing to do that. You know, they don't want to put us in a financially sort of precarious situation. So sure, but the problem is the other side of that, which is what we've talked about before, which is like, it's fantastic that, you know, the club has made a profit this year. Football's still terrible though, isn't it?
Yeah,
And that's ultimately what people care about. So there's a lot of factors at play, and I completely, and like wholeheartedly, mate, I agree with all of your points and your logic, because it makes sense. You're right. Our strikers can't be expected to score if they don't get the right service. They are trying to get into the right areas. Some of them have made absolutely shocking, like how Ross Stewart and Damien Downs have made a couple of the misses this season is, in my opinion, statistically so much harder than scoring in that goal. Like, it is nuts. So you're right. Like, that is, there are going to be some anomalies, but the temperature check is, mate, we're 6 games in. We're floating above the relegation zone. People were scared we were doing a Luton. There's a lot of people who still don't know who Will Still is. There's a lot of people who only know that he's the football manager. There's a lot of people that don't sit there and consume as much footballing content as us, that are fans, that go week in, week out, but they might not consume all of that. And they are going all the way up to Hull to see that. And that's why I think you're seeing this head loss. Is like, what do you mean we lost 3-1 to Hull? That's just the vibe. Like, you're like, mate, oh, but there's so many reasons. I get it.
I want to turn the table on you, but Perfect. First I think we better have a break and hear a message from our partners at Zencastr. Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform, and Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr. All right, mate, we are back. What have we got to do then? What's the answer, Zach? How do we fix it? What do we do?
I'll tell you what it isn't, right? It isn't fire the manager, bring in Danny Rowe or Sean Dyche. Right? 100%. Because people seem to think that it's a motivating factor. And I'm like, I don't think that Russell Martin wasn't a good man motivator, right? You told me the story this weekend that he took the Rangers squad up a mountain to like his team London.
Sorry,
like,
no, they went swimming in Loch Lomond.
Oh, okay. Whatever. No, you're right. The follow-up was they should do Ben Nevis.
Yeah.
And like, and there is criticism like, oh, Still's a bit stunted in his press conferences. I don't think that's the problem either. I don't 100% know what the solution is, mate. I don't think anyone does. If Will Still knew what the solution was, he would have fixed it. If the director of football knew what the solution was, he probably would have brought in a manager that he thought could fix it. I don't know if it's a chemistry thing. I don't know if you need to take them all out and spend a week with them, wine them and dine them, get them to know each other. Because again, you've got a bunch of players, as you pointed out, that have come in. That one of the biggest solutions for, I think, the entirety of the championship is to close the window like 3 weeks before like a week before the championship starts.
It's horrible, isn't it?
Because having this upset again, like the fact that we had like 3 debuts in the Portsmouth game was nuts. Yeah, I genuinely don't know, but like. It's one of those things where, okay, do we drop back to 5 at the back? Because 4 at the back isn't working either. So defensively, I would maybe change up personnel a little bit. Like, I understand that they don't want to drop the captain. I get that. But, like, you know, as you pointed out, Nathan Wood was really solid and then kind of can't get a look in at the moment. I don't think Taylor Harwood-Bellis had the greatest game. I'm not going to lie. You know, he dropped the stinker. I think it was a bit weird, people talking about Baz having a lot of blame for that. Which
that's really one thing I want to talk about, because I've seen Baz take a huge amount of criticism for the goal, and I remember distinctively a game last season, I don't remember who it was against, but a really similar goal we conceded, where the same thing happened to Ramsdale. And Ramsdale took no criticism whatsoever for it. It was like, he knocked the ball out. The defender should have done better. Now, for me, I watched the goal and I went, why is Stevens a yard behind his man and not chasing the second ball? Baz made the save, and sure, it bounced off of him and to a striker, but I'd be...
Why are there like 3 Hull players there and not any Saints players? Yeah, like this again. We know this is a problem, and it does. People are talking about just terminating the loans, right? Just bring back Ramsdale. And I'm like, to be fair, he has been sat on the bench for 5 games for Newcastle, but that was his decision. Because he's going to get to the World Cup sitting on the bench at Newcastle. That's how that works.
If that was financially or personably viable, we wouldn't have sent him out on loan in the first place. It's just not going to happen. I
genuinely think that, I think, okay, give Gillette a bit of a run out. I was surprised to see him replace Manning. I think Rorislev struggled in his first few games, but I think that is one of the problems we've got. But again, I just don't know I don't understand how we talk about Taylor Harwood-Bellis being one of our best assets and best, like, England international, this and the other. And then he has a bad game and everyone says he's terrible. And his partnership with Stevens sometimes works out. But I think that, okay, what's gone wrong here? Well, if what you're saying is, okay, if we just keep knocking on the door, eventually they're going to go in, the attacking is going to click. So we keep the attacking the same as it is. What do? The midfield had to change because Finn Downs has got some sort of illness. I'm starting to think at this point that he's got something more serious, and I don't really want to keep making jokes about it because I feel like
It was mentioned that he's had issues with his immune system since that first time he was ill when he got E. coli. So
yeah, like wouldn't be surprised if like I've had friends that have had glandular fever and stuff like that, and it affects you for a lot longer than you want it to. So, like, okay, maybe we should stop harping on about that. And maybe that is actually one of the reasons why he struggled so much this season is because he's playing...
You're not well. It's, yeah.
Yeah, like anything and anyone in the job. So, okay, so Casper Yander and Che Charles are going to need a bit more time. So then what would you do? Well, they don't want to lose Stevens because they don't really have a senior voice on the field. So they keep kind of Stevens in alongside Taylor Harwood-Bellis. So in my opinion, okay, maybe change that out. Maybe put Wood in. Maybe put Kwasi.
Yeah.
And then if we get battered again,
I wonder if they're just too similar to be a partnership. Like they both try and do too much of the same sort of thing and end up sort of tripping over each other. I mean, Harwood-Bellis is notorious for making a mistake and then throwing his arms in the air and blaming someone else, which is not ideal from someone who's supposed to be a sort of leader as well. But I just don't think that it works particularly well. I think that perhaps on paper, I feel like maybe perhaps on paper they are our best 2 centre-backs, but it just doesn't click, it doesn't gel. And we saw that plenty last season. We don't need to keep reminding ourselves of it.
If we're struggling, okay, so we're trying to bed some of the players in a little bit more. And I think that you're right in moving Fraser to that middle role and potentially dropping Azaz for a game. Like, okay, you've been in for 3 games. You've not really shown us a lot. You've had a lot of stick and criticism. Let's just put Fraser on. Let's bring you on later. Let's see if you make more of an impact off the bench in 70 minutes, right? And that's the other thing is that utilising that a bit more. Some of the substitutions have come a bit too late, I think, to make a huge impact. We already discussed that. So yeah, it's going to be tweaks and bits and pieces like that. The problem is that, okay, well, what game are we going to do it in? Because we're now against Middlesbrough. So we wanted to really have our best team by this point, but we're going to probably struggle because and the other thing that I think bothered me and probably bothers other people is I know that we said that, we had a style under Russell Martin, whether we liked it or not. We had a problem with that, whether we liked it or not, right?
Yeah. This is another thing that annoys me because I've seen a lot of this.
The lack of style.
We don't even have a style. That's the problem. There's too much of it in football. Pep Guardiola ruined everything. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of hearing it. And if I see it on social media one more time, I'm going to lose my head. We don't need to have a distinctive style of football. The only style of football we need to implement is to kick the ball at the goal more.
Yeah, but also, it's like you want him to go into each game and set up around that. And so that's what we expected. We expected formation changes. We expected that kind of stuff to happen.
We've had formation changes. We've had 5 at the back, 3 at the back, 4 at the back, 2 in the middle.
It doesn't feel like it's for each individual game. It feels like it's just trying stuff out randomly. And that's one of the problems. Because it's like, does it feel like that formation, in your opinion, was set up specifically to beat Hull? Because that's the argument that you're making, is we shouldn't have a style. We shouldn't have the best 11. Or do
Yeah,
you
I
think it
mean,
was just, oh, okay, well that's the two formations we've tried? Because again, like it just felt like we did the same thing from the
no,
week before,
we tried
but we tried
different
it with
stuff.
different personnel.
No, we had a diamond, and we've tried the two holding midfielders, and I don't sit and analyze the opposition that we're playing ahead of time to know enough if the formation we play is going to be like directly suited to it. But I mean, I feel like putting your four best attackers on the pitch against a team that shipped 14 goals is probably the right idea and to play. I don't think that. I mean, I can hear an argument for Jay Robinson suddenly disappearing and after being such a creative spark, and I can hear other changes, but
And there might always
I
be
don't know.
reasons for that. We don't sit behind the scenes, but I
Yeah,
think that the problem is sometimes like Will Still's been quite open and honest, and I think that's a good thing. Sometimes maybe a bit too much, but the problem is the reality of the situation, mate, and the position we find ourselves in. Regardless of the fact that you're right, we've only had like a proper week with all these players. We're 6 games in. We had a scrappy win against Wrexham. In between that, we have won 2 League Cup games, one of which was very good against Norwich, right?
yeah,
So there is that as well. But like and I think you talked about it even more so. It's the trauma of last season, both in the squad and in the fan base. I
yeah,
don't think that we could blame or get mad at people just coming up and plucking ideas out of thin air because it's just
yeah.
we just want
Look,
something else.
look, these losses happen, and these losses
Yeah, 100%.
happened to us in our last championship season. It is, and I understand it, but I just think we don't need to get to panic stations. We don't need to be losing our heads. We just need to settle down and trust the process. And do you know what? If in 4 weeks' time we're in the same position, then I will eat my hat and say, fair enough. Maybe we need to reassess where we're at. But I just think it's in real terms with a settled squad, because even the players who are still here that he has had didn't necessarily know they were still going to be here. They could have been going, right?
Yes.
So we've had like 3, maybe 4 training days with a full squad not away on international duty, and 2 games in that time, and travel up to Hull, and God knows what else. It's not going to happen overnight. And yes, it's a disappointing result. And yes, heading into a week where we're playing, checks notes, Liverpool and Middlesbrough, who are absolutely flying, it is a bit scary, but it's got to take it as it comes. Let's face it, in a week's time, I don't think the Liverpool result is relevant to this thought at all, actually. But if we beat Middlesbrough decisively, the tables have turned completely again, like on the head. Like there's no, you can't opt it.
I think it will be. I think it will offer respite, but I think that people are worried, mate, and I think that we're also part of the problem. Like we're sat there predicting us to be second or first. I think that maybe the reality of the situation is that we're not going. It's not going to be as comfortable as people want it to be, and that shouldn't surprise anybody after the back of a 12-point season.
But
And
also,
it's
that's why
upsetting.
if it was going to be easy, it wouldn't be the best league in the world. This is why we love the game and why we love the league, mate.
I know,
It's all part and
as
parcel. That's
as I
what
said,
makes this league so
stressful.
great. Genuinely.
It was stressful, and like from a personal perspective, I think yeah, okay, it probably it was frustrating because it felt like a waste of my time because it annoyed me. I know that's probably how a lot of other people felt. On top of that, you got this game on a Saturday that you would build up all week for. You're like, oh, okay, it should be whole, should be decent. We do our previews, we get excited, especially with us because we spend so much time talking about it. And then the reality of the situation is just like and it falls flat completely, and it's like, right, we got a consolation goal, and you say, "Oh, take the emotion out of it," but that's part of it.
No,
It's not as easy to take the emotion out.
I understand that, and I agree. But I think, and in overall terms, it was an improved performance, even though the result wasn't there. At risk of starting to sound like Russell Martin and being proud of the performance, it was an improvement. It was really unfortunate that it played out the way it went, because, I mean, the stats of that game tell a completely different story of the scoreline, and my take on the watch of the game, there were still concerns, but we shouldn't have lost. The scoreline, I don't feel, reflects how the game played out in real time at all. So it is properly unfortunate.
Perception
But
of reality, grass on paper. All that we can use all the plaudits. I think it's just, let's put it down to the fact that it was disappointing.
yeah,
wound up.
absolutely.
So I wound up more than you. You are far more practical and logical when it comes to why. Maybe I'm a voice of all of the people that just get mad and don't really know how to articulate why. And it's because you just ultimately, part of it is that you'd love to see a team win every so often. And it's
That's
just
it,
been a
mate.
long time, and it's really hard. Again, it's been a long time since we've really felt that in a way that feels tangible and comfortable and happy. So, but it is what it is. It's a disappointing draw, on a disappointing loss. On to the next one. You got the result right, mate. Just the wrong way around.
Oh, there we go. Look, that's some level of improvement. But look, that is all we've got time for today. We will be back tomorrow when we preview a game that 3 times in this episode I've brushed off as unimportant. But it'll be important tomorrow, I promise.
Oh, yeah, only one of the best teams in the world that haven't lost so far in their league this season. Let's go!
Just try not to think about it too hard. But look, we will be back tomorrow to preview that. Until then, thank you very much, everyone, for listening. Let us know your thoughts on the game in the comments and on all the socials. We are about on Facebook, Twitter, X, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all of them. Thank you very much for joining me today, Zach. We will see you tomorrow. Until then, have a wonderful day, everyone.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.